Okay, you're recording.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask everyone to either turn their cell phones off or place them on vibrate. And if we could all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And as always, we'll start with our public presentation this evening. I would remind anyone wanting to address the trustees this evening that so please raise your hand, stand, and give us your name and address. You're allotted 3 minutes to speak. Once the public presentation portion of the meeting is closed, the board will not entertain questions or comments from members of the audience unless one of the trustees asks an individual comment. Is there anybody for public presentation this evening?
Yeah, Chairman Mazchek, I have a couple questions. I'd like just a few things I don't understand from the article from the Town Crier March 20th. Evidently, it was from the meeting of March 11th.
For the record, could you state your name and address, please?
Oh, I'm sorry.
We certainly all know who you are, but if you could do that for the record, please.
Dave Morrison, 5160 Timbercrest Lane Drive, Canfield, Ohio. It says here, Ms. Cartwright said that I had broken some rules, and I'd like to know what rules were in place at that time that I broke. That's misleading the residents of our community. Was there a policy or written rules or something that I had broken?
Dave, I'm not aware of any written policy that was broken per se. At the time, I believe it was the board's opinion that it was a presumed policy that certain things couldn't be done, and I think that's how. Not speaking for Marie, but I believe that's what the interpretation of that was.
It was a presumed policy that you gave someone 7 days suspension on. That doesn't sound like good judgment from that administration.
Mr. Chair, if I might.
Please.
Obviously, as you know, we did indeed have a system running on your computer that, when viewed by the trustees and by our legal counsel at the time, showed where instead of addressing township business for the residents, that there was an inordinate amount of time being spent on personal
I didn't ask about that. I asked about, was there a policy in place?
It doesn't matter. Why do we need a policy, Mr. Morrison, to tell you when an employee comes to work, they're supposed to work?
You said that I broke the rules. I did not break the rules.
But you did break the rules.
And
you're supposed to work when you come to an office and to a place of business.
Oh,
It is an understood policy. If we give you a check for doing a job, you are supposed to actually work instead of doing your personal business and searching the web.
This all started before the election last year, and my question is, how many times have you used this program since then? And also,
as you know, it has been an ongoing investigation. There was discussion between the union, yourself. We were to go to arbitration. However, this current board decided not to pursue that, which again was against my better judgment, because I think that you did a disservice to our residents.
did I break any rules?
Yes, you did.
What rules were they?
Morally, you're paid to do a job, Mr. Morrison, and you did not.
They were your rules.
No, they are business rules. Any business, if you have been in the private sector, any business person would have fired you on the spot after looking at the amount of time you spent on personal business as opposed to the business you were supposed to be attending to.
That's your opinion. And also in this article, well, not in this article, but it was on the recording, Mr. Batile, the former trustee, stated that I had admitted to this. I don't believe so. I don't understand what that statement was for. It's just frustrating. You know, most of the phone calls I've gotten recognize this as a dog and pony show to discredit. Most of the people are very livid about it. You can keep doing what you want. I think this is harassment. And I just have to apologize to Chairman Mazchek and Trustee Governor that they had to get drug into this. So everybody thinks it was pretty well orchestrated, though. So thank you.
Tony Patil, Foxton, Canfield. Follow up to Mr. Morrison's comments. As far as wasting time on the computer, there are websites visited. You don't need a policy in place to say that you need to work at work. If that's the case, you need a policy not to shoot a fellow employee. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, there's websites visited, shopping for horses, shopping for resorts, anything you can think of, news, obituaries.
That's a lie.
No.
That's a lie. There
You know
was
what?
no nudity on there. You're lying.
Did I say nudity?
You're
I
lying.
didn't say
You did not
nudity.
see nudity.
I'm not going to argue with you. It's my 3 minutes, so you can butt at.
Well, okay.
These other trustees know about it. They've seen the tapes. We agreed last year, all three of us, that this was uncalled for, inappropriate. And to say we don't have a policy in place is ludicrous. That's all I have.
Anyone else for public presentation this evening? This time I would ask the fiscal officer to please call the roll.
Mr. Maschak,
Present.
Ms. Cartwright,
Present.
Mr. Governor.
Present.
Almost said it too.
Any corrections or additions to the minutes from the regular meeting of February 11th, February 25th, and March 11th? Hearing none, I would accept as presented. The zoning report, any questions or comments regarding the zoning report? The only thing that I wanted to note, Dave, I know that there is a zoning commission special workshop with G2 on the 27th,
Yes.
and is that here at the hall?
Yes, it is. Well, it's in my office. It's not. The front hall's going to be used by the Board of Health.
Okay, right, and I had that on my calendar. I just wanted to make sure we didn't have any issues with.
G2 will not attend, but we are reviewing some items that we went over last time with
Okay.
Mr. Smith, and we will probably contact him by telephone and explain to him what our meeting entailed.
Great, great.
If I may.
Right.
Dave, since you're here, if you don't mind answering a question? Okay. And I know Marie had asked you, and you did respond timely. I appreciate that. In regards to the old flour mill property, a lot of residents always want to be updated on that. Would you mind giving us a quick update on that?
Actually, I believe April 6th, which is a Sunday, but our council has 4 months to reply to the brief that the defendants' council had given to the courts, and so then it can be another 4 months after that for him to file his briefs. So it just depends on how quick the prosecutor gets that done. There's a sign there that says "We Care." I noticed last time, Brian, that one of the residents was complaining about these "We Care" signs. Said there was 60 or 70 in the township. I don't think there's 60 or 70 signs like that ever in the township, but there's a lot in Boardman Township on Tippecanoe Road. Possibly that resident's not quite sure where the borders are. But it's on their property. I can't trespass on their property. If it was on the road right away, it would have been gone a long time ago. But it has to be frustrating to those residents on Whispering Meadows.
Understood. But in regards to the old flour, what we're calling the old flour mill property, it could be as much as 8 months before this works its way
It could be
through?
another 4 months.
4 months. Okay. So, okay. I don't know if it was 4 and then 4 or just 4.
Well, we've gone through the 4 from...
Okay. All right. I'm with you. Gotcha. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions regarding the zoning report?
If I may make a comment.
Comment, please.
the zoning department, for years, we have always put the evaluation, the number of permits sold, the value of the permits, and so forth, have always appeared in the minutes. And we've gotten out of that practice. And Canfield Township's been in first place for some time now, and we've been in first place in valuation, versus other townships in the county. So I think we need to get that back into the minutes. If no one has any objections, I think that since Dave goes out of his way to put that report out, that we should at least address it in the minutes.
Any comments from the board on including that in the minutes or objections?
No. I think it's nice to see it.
Well, I think if anything, it gives the folks in the township the opportunity to take a look at the growth in our township and to see where we stand compared to other townships in the county. Hearing no other questions or comments regarding the zoning report, I would move to accept as presented. Moving on to Mr. Rogers' report, the Administrator Road Superintendent report. Any questions or comments with respect to that report?
Keith, I know you spent a lot of time out at the parkland, in particular, getting the new building up and going. Everything seems to be running now as far as plumbing is concerned.
We did get the occupancy as of earlier. I don't remember the last day I was out there. It all kind of blended together. Everything was tested. Everything passed. I do have to get one of the sinks adjusted by 4 degrees in order for it to meet specifications. 5 degrees. Thank you. So I will make a phone call to the plumber and schedule another appointment out there.
That's great.
And Keith, with respect to the Ruma paving project, we've got you got an answer back from Pat Giannetti with respect to the blending, the paving with the driveways and whatnot, so that's not going to be an issue for anyone then?
No. I actually talked to Pat Giannetti and Rob Dunham both, and they both explained to me that in the specifications within the drawings, they were to blend into each driveway, and then they will actually be cutting butt joints into the intersections and going into the intersection 10 to 12 feet, something like that. So there will be a smooth transition.
And I see that you did indeed contact the other townships regarding the mailbox policy, and I do appreciate that. Have you started to work on one that might work for us?
I'm going to leave that up to the board, how they would like. I mean, it seems like a common practice is to try to go out and make the repairs if it's repairable. Then they go about replacing with a standard 2x4 mailbox, or if that's unacceptable, then $25 after an invoice comes in. I believe a couple of the townships are doing that way, and then it would be a dollar amount. I know Poland Township pays a little bit more than what we were paying, but we were following what the county was doing.
Yeah, I think that's, what you illustrated there, Keith, is probably a good policy, something to present to us. If it can be fixed without too much trouble, without spending more than $25 worth of time on it, then it should be fixed. If,
Well, I know what Bob Burkett had brought to the township's attention. Maintenance of the mailbox of the residents should come as being a property owner as well. Some of the mailboxes, the 4x4 posts were rotting and leaning into the street. So as soon as they're hit, they just expect us to put up a new box. So I believe that's why Bob had actually started that whole thing, to make everybody aware that sometimes the residents should actually make some repairs to their mailboxes prior to winter.
I think we need to be clear. It's not that our trucks are hitting the mailboxes. It's the snow that the plows are throwing.
Typically,
Typically,
yes. The
Yeah,
snow's a lot heavier.
seldom are we hitting the mailboxes.
Right.
So you'll prepare one for us for our review?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
any other questions or comments for Keith?
Well, Keith has in here about that he would like to attend this stormwater convention scheduled June 4th to the 6th in Akron, which I did have a conversation with Keith. I mean, it seems like a very good convention for him to go to. I don't know if there were comments on that? We need a resolution for that?
We do have a resolution
There is a
for
resolution. Oh,
it,
there is?
actually, yeah.
Okay, my
I guess
fault.
the only issue is, Keith, there's some training involved in there where you can get certification, and I noticed that you said that you were going to pay for the training. I don't know if that's appropriate. If it's something that's going to benefit the township, I think the township would be willing to pick up the tab for the specific training. I don't know how the other board members feel, but I think if Keith's going to be getting some knowledge that's going to be helpful for the township, then that's within our.
Well, what I felt was, let me pay for it up front. When I pass the test, then I can be reimbursed from the township. I felt that was fair.
What if
because
you never
the
pass
cert-
the test?
Pardon me? If I pass the test. The certification I'm looking for is actually a professional in soil erosion and sediment control. Basically, I'll be able to review the plans for developments and whatnot to see. That way I'm more knowledgeable to explain things to the board and be able to go out on site, walk around, and know exactly what I'm looking for. That was the idea behind that.
Well, I think we're saying we have confidence in you.
I appreciate that.
Sure.
Well, and I think this is one of the conferences that we've discussed several times for you to attend, and I know that one of the hang-ups on this not being previously put into a resolution was our travel policy that we need to have a discussion on in order to pass the resolution tonight. So if we might, it seems like an appropriate time to do that.
Yeah, why don't we just go ahead and address that right now?
And since our policy, our current policy that we passed states that you're supposed to be within 100 miles in order to spend the evening, I think what we can I think that what we could do is to either amend our existing policy or just go ahead and approve this specific conference. And I did have a conversation with one of the local auditors who said that we could do it either way. Carmen and I have discussed it as well. So I think it's really at the board's discretion now which way we handle it. I think that since Carmen has gone ahead and she's getting an opinion from the prosecutor for the overall, why don't we just specifically for this conference go ahead? And I spoke with Boardman Township, and they typically just say if it's a conference that is 2 days or longer, and even if it's within the 40 or 50 miles, then they would pay for the expenses and the overnight stay.
That seems to make sense. I mean, we can leave that for the, if we decided to amend the resolution, in its entirety. But for this, in this specific case, why don't we just approve this conference in this specific instance? Seems to make the most sense.
Agreed.
Agreed.
And Keith, can we have that listing of all the conferences? I know that you've been working on it.
I've been trying to find them as they pop up.
And if
don't
you-
seem to be on the mailer for anybody, so I've been relying a lot on the county, and they've been sending me emails when the classes are popping up. So I think I really need to get a hold of someone from the EPA and make sure that my email address is listed
Okay.
with them. So that's the best I can do for right now until I can actually talk to someone there and find out if I'm on the email list. And I don't know if it's because I haven't attended any of the conferences. I don't know.
Any other questions or comments for Keith? Hearing none, I would move to accept Keith's report as presented. Moving on to the fiscal officer's report.
Okay, I've got several purchase orders for you, starting with purchase order 08-2014. It's made payable to Farmers National Bank. About 2 weeks ago we sent off our payment, and I always wait to see how the interest posts, and then I make the adjustments. But we've got a new program that we're dealing with UAN, and when I went in there to make the adjustments like I have in the past, it didn't allow me. So I was forced to open this PO in order to properly post the interest, and then I voided the original purchase order once the payment was made. So that all balances out. It's the same payment, we just didn't pay anything more, but this one was needed to make the adjustment. And this is not all the interest. This is just part of the interest of that particular payment, because part of it came out of the other PO. The second one is made payable to the city of Canfield, and this covers that water meter that you'll be approving later in the meeting. The third one down is for the Mahoning County Sanitary Engineers. That one is an overall $1,000 just to cover us, hopefully through the next couple of quarters. But this is the bill that we're going to be getting based on us using the sanitary sewers out at the park. Ohio Edison, the following one, it's also the park, and then the last one is also the park, and this is for the installation of the valve, the backflow valve, or whatever that is, $750. Also for your consideration, I have warrants starting with 9447 through 9475, electronic payment 62-2014 through 66-2014, for a total of $40,842.52. And the liquor license, I wasn't able to stop the hearing, so now we have to go through legal and with the State Department in order to get that hearing canceled, and the county doesn't get involved at that end of it. So we have to be the ones to contact the state, and I didn't have time today to do that.
I'm sorry, I missed something somewhere. Why is it being stopped?
I had sent an email out that we had, Mr. Angelilli had phoned me. I had spoken with his leasing agent a week ago, and then Mr. Angelilli called me, and he explained what they're going to do is they're trying to market that space for a retail space, perhaps a deli, convenience-type store that would sell beer and wine,
Okay.
and that's why they need that license for it specifically. It's not going to be strictly a carryout or anything, but they're looking to do perhaps a specialty store with a retail component for the beer and wine.
Okay, so that's...
So that's their strategy for marketing that property.
Okay, which is different than what was there, so that
Correct.
changes how
And
the
they did not
license-
have the license. The license
It was in
was
someone
in the
else's,
name
yeah.
of Canfield
All right,
Beverage,
yeah,
the
gotcha.
owners.
Okay, gotcha.
And the owners of the plaza are taking it.
All right, thank you.
It is possible that the state's going to require to speak to the chairman. So, because you're the one that actually speaks for the board. So if I run into that, I'll give you a quick call or drop you an email and then give you the information on who to talk to. But once we go past the county commissioners, then we're done. We have to go with the hearing. And that's the end of my report.
And Mr. Angelilli did apologize. He was out of town. That's why he didn't get back to us sooner on it. And he said he would also make himself available to speak to any of the board members if you might have questions about that property.
Great. Appreciate the follow-up on that, Maria.
Oh, one other issue. Since I wasn't aware that the check for the letters for the turnpike was supposed to be made payable to the city, I made it payable to MS.
I noticed that.
I paid MS, the whole bid is through MS, and we get this note from the city asking us to forward the check to them with their name on it. And that's not what we had set up here at these meetings. I was never told that it was supposed to be made payable to the city. So it's in there, made payable to MS. I will mail it to the city. They can include their check, but that's the story on that one.
Yeah, because the invoice did come from City of Canfield, I see.
Keith, will you make sure that that's followed up on with them? Does that check have to be reissued is my concern. Is it going to the city of Canfield?
It's going to MS. MS did the work. Why would the city even be, both of us should be making our checks payable to MS. And because it's split 50-50, it makes no sense for me to write a check to the city. It just absolutely makes no sense.
Unless the city covers the entire amount.
Unless the city's already paid it, then we might have an issue.
Next, moving on to unfinished business. The Township Community Park Maintenance Contract. I'll move to accept the best low bid for the Township Community Parks lawn mowing maintenance from Datillo and Son Landscaping for the area included in the bid package noted as Area Number 1, located on the south side of Herbert Road at a cost of $175 per cut. Area 2, as described in the bid package located on the north side of Herbert Road, to the best and low bid. And in this situation, we have an interesting situation that I don't think we've ever experienced before. We actually have two bidders who had bid the exact same amount. And I believe that the township has used both services in the past, and they both bid $500 per cut for the year 2014. So we were up against who to choose, and it was we were advised by our council that oddly enough that we should actually flip a coin to determine who is going to be awarded that bid. Did anyone bring a coin tonight?
Well, if I may, were we going to decide that? Or do they actually have to be present? Did I read that somewhere or not?
I think that was in the description that they had both contractors.
Okay, well then maybe we have to wait
Okay.
then, for verification of the coin flip, I guess.
So you
I just
have to
want-
vote.
I'm glad you brought that up, Ryan.
I'll contact them
you were
both
right.
and bring them in, and
Okay.
I'll do the coin toss and let the trustees know.
And then we'll just reissue we'll table this resolution until next
You want to
time.
table the entire, let's
I
table the
think we
entire
need,
resolution. Very
and
good.
then
Okay.
whoever wins the coin toss, then if Keith, you can let us know, that can be put in
Okay,
there.
and before we leave this subject here, Area 1, I had this discussion with Kate to make sure that we knew what the total was, because I would have to be guessing at what to open a purchase order at. So we determined that in 2002 there was 18 cuts for Area 1. In 2013 there was 22 cuts. So going on 22 cuts, your total would be $3,850. Area 2. Ready?
Mhm.
On Area 2, in 2012, it was 3 cuts. In 2013, 9 cuts.
3 versus 9?
What it was in 2012, we had a lot of wet.
Yeah.
And that is a low-lying area, so it was swampy, and he couldn't get in and do the brush hogging. Last year, I believe we set those up for 10 cuts per season,
Okay.
once every 3 weeks. So I just left it at 10 cuts
Okay.
for the season.
So 10 cuts would be $5,000. That should all appear in the resolution,
Okay.
so that we can do the purchase orders correctly.
And Keith, then for Area 1, what was the total number of cuts you had designated there?
I was looking at, is every 3 to 4 weeks for 22 cuts.
Okay.
That seemed like an average, so I just left it at 22
22.
cuts.
22
But we did
cuts.
leave a provision in the contract that states that due to whatever conditions, the township has the right to stop and start services without any payment to the contractor.
Okay. I mean, so potentially we could potentially have 25 cuts, or is...
Well, what I'm thinking is if
It's
we
gonna
have
be
it-
less,
If we
yeah.
have it signed up for 22 and
Right.
we have a drought, and
Sure.
we only need it cut
Obviously.
3 times, then we don't have to pay him for the 22
I guess my question to Carmen then is if we go over, I mean, should we budget, or should we put in the resolution for, 25 at the price
Generally,
versus...
if you put in more, I'm not going to catch it, because I'm going to continue, as that purchase order is still there, I'm going to continue allowing the payments to go through.
Okay.
If you limit it, I'm going to bring it to your attention that we've hit this many cuts. So you really want the extra built-in protection that I'm going to come to you and say, hey, we're
Yeah,
getting
that's a
close.
backup, yeah.
We're getting close.
Okay.
Also, the fertilization, so we can just get this out of the way, we have 3 applications at $745. That's your, further down on your, and the total of that contract is $2,235. Now, since we've made those adjustments, just leave this resolution complete, this motion completely out of the minutes.
We're going to table it.
Yeah.
But we didn't move or anything, just leave it out.
Steve did.
Oh, he did?
I did move,
Well, I
yeah.
understand that he tabled it, but it wasn't, well, there was no motion, because there was no second. Right now, we're just discussing this.
It's up to the chairman.
Why don't we just table it then for
Okay.
the next meeting? Moving on to the community park water meter.
I'll move to approve the purchase of 1.5-inch water meter for the City of Canfield Water Department at a cost of $800 for the Township's Community Park multi-purpose building.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Maschak,
Yes.
Ms. Cartwright,
Yes.
Mr. Governor.
Yes.
The Township Hall water meter. I'll move to approve the Comar Plumbing Company as the best low bidder to furnish the necessary labor and materials for the installation of a backflow device and the copper piping for a new water meter at a cost of $750.
I'll second.
And this work is being performed so the township complies with the Ohio EPA requirements for commercial buildings. Roll call.
Mr. Maschak,
Yes.
Ms. Cartwright,
Yes.
Mr. Governor.
Yes.
Township's community park fertilization contract.
I'll move to accept the best low bid for the fertilization maintenance from Western Reserve Landscaping for $745 per treatment at the Township's Community Park on the south side of Herbert Road for the year of 2014. And as the fiscal officer has indicated, that'll be 3 times, for a total of $2,235.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Maschak,
Yes.
Ms. Cartwright,
Yes.
Mr. Governor.
Yes.
The RUMA agreement with the county. I'll move to enter into the road use maintenance agreement with the Mahoning County Engineer's Office to include the township's roads.
I'll second. And do we not have to sign that this evening?
We do, yes.
The room is on the table there for
Is
your
this it right here,
signatures, and
Ken?
it's marked.
Okay.
You need to sign
Does
that
that
during the
agreement
meeting.
list the
We have to
roads?
sign it right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
It does list the
yes,
roads.
it does.
Yeah.
And the RUMA is the bond that will cover the repairs to the township roads during the installation of the Sunoco pipeline project.
And Steve, for the record, could you read those roads that affect our township?
Yes. Let's
Should I get a
see.
copy?
It's listed on the sheet, if you go in there.
I can just tell you.
Keith, will you recite the roads that are...
Sure.
Don't miss any.
Well, County Road, Leffingwell from Quarry Road to Tippecanoe. Township Road, Spring Lake Lane. Township Road, Sugar Bush. Then Tippecanoe Road, basically from where they're going to cross underneath, so it'll be a couple hundred yards south of the intersection of Tippecanoe Road and Tippecanoe and Leffingwell, heading north to 224. Raccoon Road from Leffingwell to 224. That's just in that general area. I believe they're doing something with 446.
446 is
And I
also
believe
included
Route
from
46 as well.
Leffingwell
To
around.
224, right. I think that's all.
Roll call?
Mr. Maschak,
Yes.
Ms. Cartwright,
Yes.
Mr. Governor.
Yes.
Moving on to new business, purchase orders. I'll move to approve PO 08-2014 through PO 12-2014 for a total of $6,027.50 to cover interest on the park loan payment at Farmers National Bank, the water meter, sanitary, electric, and backflow valve at the park.
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Maschak,
Yes.
Ms. Cartwright,
Yes.
Mr. Governor.
Yes.
Warrants and electronic payments?
I'll move to approve warrants 9447 through 9475, electronic payments 62-2014 through 66-2014 as general and payroll obligations of the township in the amount of $40,842.52.
Second. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Maschak?
Yes.
Ms. Cartwright?
Yes.
Mr. Governor?
Yes.
Next, donation to the War Veterans Museum.
I'll move to approve $1,000 as requested by Mr. Louis Spees, owner of the War Veterans Museum, to help with the cost of plaques for the Veterans Wall during the Memorial Day services. The warrant will be made payable to the War Veterans Museum.
I'll second.
Discussion.
I do not have that purchase order or the warrant ready because I wasn't 100% sure who I should be making that check payable to. So I'll have that, and then I know he needs it right away, so I'll get that here in the next couple of days.
Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Maschak?
Yes.
Ms. Cartwright?
Yes.
Mr. Governor?
Yes.
Next is the 2014 Stormwater Conference.
I'll move for Keith Rogers, Township Administrator, Road Superintendent, to attend the 2014 Stormwater Conference in Akron, Ohio, for the purpose of continuing education with the township paying for all the related expenses, including the registration fee of $195, hotel, travel, and meals.
Second. Discussion.
The date of this?
June the 2nd through the, or 4th through the 6th. We should put that in there. Why don't we let's amend that so that we include,
But you have
The
to
date.
include that statement
Yeah,
that this is contract.
can we include that in the discussion
in the
portion?
discussion
that it's-
portion of it. Okay, that's what we're going to do next. And although this is contrary to our travel policy at this time, we are going to go ahead and approve Mr. Rogers to attend this, although this conference is within the 100-mile radius that we have for staying overnight. This is a multiple-day conference. Instead of driving back and forth, we are going to pay for the hotel expense.
Now make sure that you get the exemption forms from me signed. I need the name of the hotel in order to provide that for you.
Okay.
And let it note also that you're staying at the conference hotel.
It's right across the street from the conference center. It's Akron City Center Hotel.
Okay,
I believe it's the name of it.
well, just get that to me because I need the address and everything, so.
Roll call.
Mr. Maschak?
Yes.
Ms. Cartwright?
Yes.
Mr. Governor?
Yes.
Next is the 2014-2015 Sodium Chloride Participation Agreement. I'll move to adopt the sodium chloride rock salt to be procured by the Ohio Department of Transportation through two separate contracts, a summer fill and a winter use. A summer fill contract number 418-15, that shall commence upon the date of contract award, which is May 8th, the estimated award date, and expire on October 31st, 2014, and a winter use contract number 018-15, that shall commence November 1st, 2014, and expire May 31st, 2015. Whereas Section 5513.01B of the Ohio Revised Code provides the opportunity for political subdivisions, including counties, townships, municipal corporations, port authorities, regional transit authorities, state colleges, universities, and county transit boards, and others to participate in contracts of the Ohio Department of Transportation for the purchase of machinery, materials, supplies, or other articles. Now therefore be it ordained, intending to be legally bound, that Keith Rogers, agent, hereby requests authority in the name of the Canfield Township Political Subdivision to participate in the Ohio Department of Transportation's contract for rock salt, and agrees to purchase a minimum of 1,980 tons and a maximum of 2,420 tons. Further asking the fiscal officer attach the contract there onto the minutes when it becomes available.
Second.
Discussion.
Are we in fact purchasing, we're making two purchases then, one in the summer and one in the
That's
fall?
what I was about
I
to
was
say.
just going to say, my understanding was we were not purchasing in the summer.
Well, the way they had set this, we had to list everything. You have your option of summer or fall in the contract. So we don't have to participate in the summer contract. So we just leave that portion of the blank, and then we fill out what we want for the fall.
But this gives us the ability,
That's correct.
if in fact
we see a reason to
Is that
go on for some reason.
does it create an issue, Carl, or what?
It's not that it creates an issue, but you're not going to do it.
Well, I
But you're
understand,
leaving it in the
but
resolution, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, because this one starts in May. I thought the first award date is May the 8th.
That's correct.
So we're just, for that portion, are we filling in like zero then?
Correct. See, the problem is if no one bids on the Mahoning County contract, it's gone. So then they just move everything to the fall.
Is it my understanding they've never done this before? Or
That's
this is new?
It's new, I guess it was
They've
done
not
a few years back, but the price
They've
came
done
in
it.
astronomically high, so people backed out of the contract and bought it elsewhere and then still had the fall contract. But I don't believe that you can do that with this one. If you back out of the summer fill, then you can't participate in the winter use.
this
That's the way I
doesn't
understand it.
obligate us to anything for a summer purchase.
Correct. We just leave that portion blank and we fill in the amount that we want for the winter use.
I'd like to see you put zero. Don't leave it blank.
I have the contract here, so I was kind of hoping we could fill it out before I leave, and then that way I can get it submitted.
Okay.
We do have to send a copy of the resolution approving it. That has to be turned in before April the 8th. That's our deadline.
Oh, that's close. Okay.
Do I have a second?
I have Brian
Brian.
seconding.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Mr. Mastro?
Yes.
Ms. Cartwright?
Yes.
Mr. Governor?
Yes.
Moving along to general discussion topics. We have been working on a number of things here in the township, and Brian, I know specifically you wanted to touch on a couple of these. I don't know if we could maybe just spend a minute or two on
That's
each
fine.
of these and,
That's
you know,
fine.
just
I
to
understand.
bring them to light.
The one is the one thing we were working on were the new Surface tablets, laptops, when you put a keyboard on them. At any rate, they are here. They're still in the process of being charged and ready to use, so hopefully by next meeting they'll be all ready to go. So that's all I wanted to bring everyone on those. I think that we also have, because they are township-owned property, of course, Keith here in Township Hall has all the serial numbers and everything to back them all up. They're given particular passwords. Those passwords we discussed, or we can discuss, to not be changed because they are township property. So these hopefully will serve us well. That's the plan with those. One discussion we need to have moving forward with, now that we have these, is how much we're going to use an in-house server versus taking our information to the cloud, which seems to be, the way to go. And I guess I brought this up at the last meeting. Hopefully you had the time to think about it. I think we at least need, or I've kind of taken this project on, and I need some direction from the board, I guess, just to make sure that I'm going in the right direction with looking at a cloud-based solution. From all the research I've done so far, it seems to be the way to go. I've talked with Ralph, our IT guy. Carmen has sat in on some of the meetings. Keith has sat in on some of them. So I don't know if there's some comments from the board in regards to continuing down that path.
Well, I guess the only question, or one of the questions that I would have, and in terms of security, is there any difference in terms of security from a cloud-based system versus an in-house system? What are the advantages with the cloud-based system over an in-house server? I mean, we do have a server now here in the office. If we had everything on the server, can we still access it the way we would be able to access things on the cloud? Just some, I guess, general questions, to make a educated decision.
Well, if I may, we've been exploring all those things, and how about if I do this, if it's okay, for the next meeting, or even before the next meeting, I'll send you the pros and the cons and things like the
just
in-house
something brief,
versus
Brian, I
cloud-based.
guess, yeah. Or,
Okay.
and cost too. What's the cost difference going to be?
Oh, the cloud-based will definitely be a lot less. It's $50 a year.
Bare minimum.
Guys, can I make a suggestion? There's a few things here that we need to discuss and to go into some detail on.
Mhm.
Perhaps we can set a special meeting that we can address this, and perhaps also the records retention policy and how we want to proceed with that. There is a consulting firm that does the public records consulting. They presented at the OTA. I think that perhaps we could ask them to come in and talk with us, and if there's other consultants that are in that field, if we could set a day aside and just put a lot of these things out and just go through them, I think that that might be beneficial for all of us, because
I would agree. That's what I would call, the communication and where we're going. So I think that would be excellent. So
I think, and
I'm all for it.
I will send you the information. This is David B. Fulmer, and again, he has presented at the OTA, and he's got a consulting firm. It's Fulmer and Shaw Consulting Group. I'll send you all the information, the particulars on that. They also have another group that they work with, which is Target Solutions, and they do a lot of the electronic portion of the records. I think we also need to invite a group in to talk to us about the cemetery and putting all of those records on. So maybe we can find a day where we can get multiple groups in to talk about certain things and just try to run through them if we could. And if we could do that even tonight, look at our calendars. I know we need to set up another meeting for the park. We didn't finish our park policies. We still need to do the cemetery rules because that's going to be here. I don't know how that's coming with the prosecutor, Keith.
I have not heard back from the prosecutor on where they're at. I can't give her a call and find out.
Would you follow up? Because, maybe we can break these into a couple of days, but I think, there's some of our primaries. I know that, Brian, you had some other concerns, too.
Yeah, those are, you hit on most of the main topics that I think that kind of all blend together, actually. So that would be a good long conversation to have. But I think moving forward, definitely having the records retention policy in place can help us move to a bunch of other things.
Marie, does that, the David B. Fulmer firm, do they have any local references or anything?
Actually, they've worked with some of the other townships. They're currently going to be working with, I believe they're going to be doing some work for the Western Reserve Fire District as well. And I think we can talk to the OTA since, they present for them. But getting some of the other townships to let us know how they felt they worked out would be a good thing to do. Also, I talked to Jason Lurie at Boardman Township, and they had hired somebody to come in and do their records retention for them as well. And as speaking with David, what he said is they take all of our records and they go through them and then they categorize them and tell us what we need to keep, how we need to proceed with each grouping, so they would take care of all that for us. Because just the amount of time to do that's going to be lengthy.
I guess just for the public's knowledge, Carmen, how far back how many records do we have, or how many years worth of records?
Seriously don't want to know.
Well, I guess the point is that the
Want to take a field trip?
the records are voluminous. There has to be some sort of electronic solution to store these. I think that's where it's going. I mean, we always run a risk if we have a fire or something that those records could be destroyed. And
We have records that are probably priceless that are upstairs. And one in particular with the original bonds for 224 to be put in are sitting up there. And also keep in mind that this was the original court for the Mahoning County, and the records are upstairs. A lot of their records. So there's a lot of historical value to some of the stuff that's upstairs.
Well, also, too, I know that over at the Public Works Department, all Bobby's maps and everything, the county even gave us theirs, and that's it. There are no other copies. If something would happen to those, that's it. And that's all the utility lines, everything in the townships. So I think there's a sense of urgency to get that done. You can get copies made, but why not just scan them and save them electronically and just do it right? And this is going to take a long time, so we do it in piecemeal.
Can we look at our calendars now
Yeah, why don't
and
we
pick
just
a
do
couple
that?
of dates? I know tomorrow we have policies and procedures.
Did we ever get the policies?
We did.
Yes. I emailed them out to everybody.
You might have to email them again because I did not see them.
And actually, I have to say, in going through those, they're in much better shape. They did make a lot of our previous changes, so I think you'll find in reading them that'll go a lot quicker this time. And I guess the question is, do we want to start with an additional meeting for the park so we can finish up the park rules?
think we should get that done first.
I think so,
because that's
too.
coming.
Don't we have one scheduled on April 3rd, 3 o'clock?
Yeah, Parkland, well, that's what I have in here.
I'm sure you do too, Marie.
I do. Good,
So
so we got to go
we're
after
already-
that.
we're already
Okay,
set
so we
there.
have April, so we have the one tomorrow, and then we have April 3rd.
Right.
What time on
It's a
April 3rd?
Thursday.
3 o'clock.
It's 3 o'clock.
And it's for?
Park, to finish the park meeting that we
Okay.
started.
Park workshop.
Good, I'm glad I had that and I totally forgot about it, guys.
Gosh, I don't remember that phone.
I do.
So Larry, you got that?
Doing it right
In case you're excited for that.
So do we want to look at going to the 16th? Where do we want to go next, guys, with this? Or the week of the
Yeah, the week of
7th? Or the week of the 14th?
the week of the 14th is not good for me.
How about the week of the 7th? Do you have something?
Actually, if we could do,
I'm no good the 9th.
How about the 10th?
that's a Thursday.
It's a Thursday.
I would be good later afternoon on that day.
Like a 3
3
o'clock.
o'clock.
Okay,
And then we're going to call this the,
if we could do this for,
Or we're going to try to get, you want to talk to this Palmer or something
yeah, I want to
first?
see if he can come in that day.
Before we even schedule, or we set a tentative date and see.
Yeah,
if
let's
everybody
do it
else-
that way.
And then I'll email you guys as soon as I get a response. How's that sound? 3 o'clock that day?
So we're going to call that record retention?
Sure, sounds good.
But that would also discuss, in-house
And
and
technology.
clouds.
Why don't we
and
do in
That's
technology?
fine.
So then we would do all of that, the cloud and the cons and pros and cons for that. And Carmen, while we're doing that, maybe it might make sense also, can you send us some information on the pros and cons of having a township credit card?
Okay. The issue with credit cards is how we're scrutinized during an audit. It becomes an issue. That's why boards have always stayed away from it. So that's the only hang-up. So I'll look into it for you and send you whatever information, but that's always been
I
an
think it
issue.
would only be, just like putting the equipment that we just purchased on your personal credit card. I think that it's probably better if we have a township card that may stay in your possession or can be locked up here at the township hall.
I think it
But
should
when
be
we're
locked
making
here.
reservations for different things, we can put it on that particular card instead of people putting it on their
Seems like
personal.
it'd be a lot easier.
And then it
well,
comes off
I
their
could see an
personal,
auditor dinging you for
putting it on our
getting points
personal.
on the personal card, when you, I mean, there's,
What happens is credit cards get a lot of elected officials in a lot of trouble, and that's one reason why people...
Well, we don't want our
So-
personal credit cards for the
I agree.
township. We just
Yeah.
want a credit card that all of us could use for business, and it would stay here. I mean, Keith could be the keeper, you could be the keeper.
Also, what makes it nice, too, is that when you use a credit card down in Columbus, and it's a township credit card, then it qualifies for all the exemptions automatically.
Oh, well, that
So
certainly
that
makes
is a
sense.
plus when it comes to getting a credit card for the township.
Okay.
But we're going to have to pass a policy on who's permitted to touch the credit card and that kind of thing, because that's the first thing the auditors will look for, is a policy that's in place.
Conveniently enough, we'll be doing that tomorrow.
That's true.
Okay, well, going down the general discussion topics then, thank you, that's good conversation, help give us direction. Just a couple other things. Carmen, you had asked about, I don't know if this is a point of discussion or not, in regards to Keith submitting legal ads to the Vindicator. Is there some reason or some?
We've already got Dave doing his own for a number of years. We've got an administrator, and he should be also responsible for his own legal ads. I think that passing them out for everybody to proof is great, but I think he needs to be responsible. We had an incident here where the Vindicator sent me an email, and I'm not even too sure I was even in town when the email came to me, and it delayed that ad from hitting the Vindicator because they waited for a response from me, and I never got to that email. So, and it just so happened that Keith was in the office, and if the email would have come to the office, he could have handled it right away. So I think it's a good idea, whoever's responsible for that legal ad, that they be the ones to put it in the paper.
Is there some legal something or another that I don't know about?
Yeah,
Why-
Ohio Revised Code says the fiscal officer is the keeper of the record. So
Okay.
that's the rule that they use to say that the fiscal officer runs all the ads.
Okay.
So it just doesn't make any sense when we've already got one department that does it on their own, and all the ads go in. They don't have to have the ads come to me. I think the same thing should fall for our administrator.
I guess the other way to look at it would be to consolidate all the legal ads with you. So I mean, just to kind of look at both points. I don't know if, how it's done in other townships, or how it's been done in the past.
The heads of the departments handle their own ads.
Okay.
But it's always been in the past where the ads run in the paper and they put my name on it, and I see it for the first time because it just ran, and I knew nothing about it. But it was because Ohio Revised Code does mention as the keeper of the record. But the thing is, as our township grows and these larger townships are in place, they can't have one person in charge of everything like this. It does end up being divided up by departments.
Well, I just bring it up because obviously, we're obligated by law to advertise, so I want to make sure that that's done properly. So that's the main
Well, I
reason.
generally would handle all the advertising for the board, but when it comes to paving programs and the fertilization, nuisance properties, I think that could be something handled by Keith with no problem at all.
I don't know if that makes sense to the board or not. I'm asking because...
Instead of making a decision, why don't we just use that as part of our discussion tomorrow?
Yeah. Yeah, Keith,
In
what's...
policies and procedures, some of this we can do under that if you don't mind.
That's fine.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that's a good idea.
All right, and then I guess the only other main thing I wanted to just touch on tonight was in regards to intentions or directions on replacing part of our fleet, a new truck. I think that, I know Bobby's done a lot of research in the past, and I don't want to necessarily lead him astray. If we're not ready to discuss that yet, or what's the board's intention there? I know we talked about budgeting for it. And
We did budget.
we did
for it.
budget for it, yeah.
Again, I think that takes a separate conversation than making a decision tonight. I don't know how you gentlemen feel
Well,
about
yeah, and I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you're looking for a decision tonight on whether
No,
you're going to
I
buy
just-
one or
well,
not.
I think
that we have an aging fleet. And
No, I'm not asking to make
Yeah,
a
sure.
decision
And
right now. But I wanted to know that, okay, hey, either, no, we're not going to do it, or, yeah, I think that we should be seriously considering that.
Sure, and I would imagine there's some lead time in terms of placing our order and getting what we want to get, and if we want to have it here when we need it, then I'm sure there's a drop-dead date for that as well.
Approximately 6 to 8 months out to
Okay.
get a truck here. So if you
So-
want it for this coming winter,
So we need to find,
the next season, you're going to have to act on it pretty soon.
next
And
month
it
or
is,
so.
and I know that
Does that
you're
sound about right,
trustees,
Pete?
but
6
this
months?
kind of discussion has to
6 to 8
happen in open
6 to 8
session.
months, okay.
I also noticed that in the Ohio DAS contract, they were changing the rules around, so there might not be a leasing option.
Okay, that can change things.
And I think, did we not budget as a
lease.
lease?
We did. We did.
We did not budget to purchase outright.
You're saying there are changes in the leasing?
There were changes that, if I remember correctly, when I looked at the website the other day, I believe it said that there was no leasing available for this contract.
Could you verify that and get that information to us?
Meanwhile, also call PNC. Well, I'll call them, because they're the ones that generally finance leasing, so they would know the rules right away.
Mr. Chairman, that was the general...
Does that wrap,
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Sure, and I think that's productive. That's a good way to talk about things that are coming down the pike and kind of take stock of where we're at.
I would move to enter into executive session at 8:01 p.m. to discuss the potential purchase of land for public purposes and security matters of the township.
Second. Roll call.
Mr. Maschak,
Yes.
Ms. Cartwright,
Yes.
Mr. Governor.
Yes.
Just to note, we will be going into executive session We will be coming back into open session after we complete executive session. We don't specifically know how long we'll be in executive session. Are we going to retire, or are we going to stay here?
Yeah. If they're going to be here, we'll just go into executive.
All right. We'll be back out after we, once we come back in open session. But
I think Keith had something he wanted for us to sign. You wanted to do
The
the
room?
salt...
we did that
Or, I
already.
mean,
I have the sole
Salt,
contract,
yeah,
but I also
if you want to
have-
do it before we go into executive, so you can leave, there's no need for Keith to stay, correct?
Sure, no.
I also have a cemetery deed on the
Okay.
table that I need signatures on, so I can get
Okay.
that back to
You
the
forgot.
owner.
Larry just had a quick question.
I just had a quick question. Would I be able to submit something after you come out of executive session, or would I wait till the next meeting? I know, and I apologize for being late. I know you do this at the beginning of your meeting.
I mean,
Why don't we just, if you have something for the board, I think we wouldn't mind accepting it, we just won't act on it.
yeah, because you're here now, Larry, I mean,
Yeah.
we certainly don't want to exclude you, make you come back for the next meeting, so.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you very much. Larry Bucciarelli, 79 Pinecone Drive, representing the Canfield Soccer Club. Just wanted to formally present for your consideration, the field availability requirements for the upcoming 2014 Canfield Soccer Club. So I have 5 copies here.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you. Okay, so we need to sign
We need to
this?
sign that, yeah.
I think all I need is a chairman's signature.
Oh, good. You have a black pen? No, I got black, yes. Hold on, let me get them. I've got my trusty pen. Okay, so...
I guess, Keith, the only question I have,
Here? Yes,
aren't you the,
Still positive.
oh boy,
Oh,
aren't you enumerated as an agent?
It's no.
Roads sound wet to me, but...
Take a look, just, you know, what's that?
I'll double check this one for last year. We see what you
That's right, March instead of Marie.
You know, in this,
Right, your name.
you know, yeah, you're the agent requesting authority in the name of the township.